I FaceTimed my fiancé, Isaiah, but a 10-year-old boy answered. He looked exactly like Isaiah. He stared at me, his eyes instantly turning bloodshot. Then, he let out a heartbreaking cry, "Mom." I froze. I was only 1 month pregnant and not even married yet. How could I have a 10-year-old son? Before I could say anything, the boy shook his head, tears streaming down his face. "Mom, I'm your unborn baby from the future. Please, don't marry Dad. He's been sleeping with Chloe for a long time." My instinct was to deny it, but the boy seemed to be running out of time. He screamed urgently. "If you don't believe me, go to our new house right now." The call abruptly disconnected. I couldn't believe my ears. Everyone knew my best friend, Chloe, and Isaiah were sworn enemies. They couldn't stand each other. They bickered every time they met because of me. How could they possibly be together? Confused and anxious, I called back. This time, Isaiah's face appeared on the screen. He looked at me with a warm smile. "Hey, Eliana. What's wrong? Are you feeling sick from the pregnancy?" I hesitated, shaking my head. I was about to tell him about the weird video call. But then, I noticed the curtains behind him. They were the custom-made ones we ordered for our new place. "Where are you?" He looked guilty for a split second, then sighed and rubbed his forehead. "I'm working overtime at the new place. I want to get everything done so work won't ruin our wedding the day after tomorrow." Suddenly, a familiar female voice echoed in the background. Before I could hear what she was saying, the call was abruptly hung up. A text message came through immediately after. "I'm getting busy, Eliana. I'll text you later." I stood there in silence. The seeds of doubt began to sprout and grow wildly in my heart. Without even grabbing a proper coat, I rushed out of the apartment and drove straight to our new house. But when I pushed the door open, the scene wasn't what I had feared. Isaiah was sitting on the floor, putting up the wedding backdrop. Chloe was standing next to him, tying ribbons onto balloons. Both of them gasped when they saw me. "Eliana? What are you doing here?" Isaiah rushed over to support me and guided me to the sofa. "You're pregnant. You need to be careful." I stared at them, totally confused. What are you two doing?" Isaiah rubbed the back of his neck, looking sheepish. "I wanted to surprise you. I didn't expect to run into her." Chloe immediately chimed in, rolling her eyes. "As if I wanted to run into him. If it weren't for your happiness, Eliana, there is no way in hell I'd stay in the same room as this guy. If you hadn't lied to Eliana, she wouldn't have rushed over here so worried." Seeing them on the verge of fighting again, I quickly grabbed Chloe's hand. All right. I'm fine. Both of you are doing this for me, so please stop arguing." Chloe gave him one last glare. Seeing them bicker just like they always did, I finally let out a sigh of relief. Maybe that video call was just a sick prank. I looked up at Chloe and noticed her eyes were red. "Chloe, what's wrong? Did he bully you?" Chloe froze for a second, then shook her head. She wrapped her arms around me. "No. I'm just getting emotional. You're getting married the day after tomorrow, and I'm feeling a bit lonely." I gently patted her back. "Even after I'm married, we can still hang out. It's not like I'm disappearing from your life." She didn't reply. She just held me tightly for a long time before letting go. "All right, I'll stop being a third wheel. I'm going home." Seeing that it was pitch black outside, I grabbed my car keys from the coffee table, intending to drive her back. Isaiah gently pressed my shoulder and took the keys from my hand. "You're pregnant. I'll drive her home." With that, he walked straight out the door. Chloe glanced at me, said nothing, and followed him. Watching their retreating figures, a strange, uneasy feeling crept into my chest. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was the little boy again. I demanded immediately, "Who on earth are you?" He didn't answer right away. He just stared at me through the screen with intense emotion. Finally, he lowered his head. "Mom, I really am your child. My name is Aiden, and I came from 10 years in the future. If you don't believe me, go look under the bed in the master bedroom." I looked at him skeptically. But his face held no guilt or deceit. Even though I didn't believe in time travel, I walked into the bedroom and knelt by the bedside. With just one look, my breath caught in my throat. There were several used condoms scattered carelessly under the bed. I froze, my entire body trembling uncontrollably. Watching me, Aiden's eyes welled up with tears. He took a deep breath. "Mom, you can also look under the pillow." My mind went completely blank. Mechanically, I lifted the pillow. A piece of lace lingerie met my eyes. It was Chloe's favorite brand and style. I took a step back, unable to believe what I was seeing. How is this possible? Maybe it was the cleaning lady. Before I could even finish the sentence, I knew how pathetic I sounded. Isaiah and I had been together for 7 years. I couldn't bring myself to believe he would betray me like this. How does this prove it was them? I whispered. Aiden looked at me with pure heartbreak. Mom, Dad, and Chloe are arguing in the parking garage right now. If you go down, you'll hear everything. I turned to leave, but then I hesitated. Can you tell me, what happens 10 years from now? Aiden seemed afraid of hurting me. He hesitated for a long time before speaking in a low, trembling voice. Mom, you were eventually sent to a psychiatric hospital by Dad. A psychiatric hospital? Seeing my confusion, he slowly unfolded the tragedy of my future. Chloe wasn't satisfied with being just the secret mistress, yet she couldn't bear losing her friendship with me. She fell into a deep depression. One night, she left a confession letter and committed suicide. After reading her letter, my mental state completely collapsed. I fell into severe depression. But instead of comforting me, Isaiah blamed her death entirely on me. He started openly dating other women who looked like Chloe. I couldn't take the abuse and fought back, even hurting myself in the process. He used that as an excuse, claimed I was insane, and locked me away in an asylum. Hearing this, I sank to the floor, my stomach churning. A wave of intense nausea hit me. I rushed to the bathroom and threw up until my throat burned. When I came out, the video call had already ended. I touched my belly, my eyes filling with tears. Looking at my phone, I saw Isaiah's car locator was still showing he was in the parking garage. This time, I didn't hesitate. I walked straight down. As soon as I entered the dim garage, I saw Chloe pushing Isaiah away, crying hysterically. Isaiah, what do you want me to do? Every time I see you treating her so well, I go crazy with jealousy. But she is my best friend. What else do you want me to do? Isaiah wrapped his arms around her tightly, looking completely devastated. No matter how she struggled, punched, or kicked him, he didn't let go. Only when she ran out of strength did Isaiah finally speak in a soft, aching voice. You still love me, and neither of us wants to hurt her. This is the best choice for all of us, isn't it? Besides, didn't we cover it up perfectly just now? Hearing those words, even though I had prepared myself, a sharp, stabbing pain pierced my heart. Chloe sobbed against his chest. No, it shouldn't be like this. Isaiah, let's end this. Let's pretend none of today ever happened. But he didn't let go. Instead, he pulled her even closer. Chloe, are you going to abandon me again after weighing your options? I leaned against the concrete pillar just to keep myself standing. So, they were each other's unforgettable first loves. I remembered how Chloe used to get drunk and cry to me. Eliana, I regret it so much. But he couldn't give me the life I wanted back then. He was just a poor kid working 3 or 4 jobs, giving me every penny he earned while he survived on bread crusts. But the company that offered me an internship back then was the Jefferson Group, the top firm in the industry. What was I supposed to do? She had mumbled on and on about how much he loved her, and how painful it was for her to make that choice. Later, when she heard I was in a relationship, she flew back to the States overnight just to vet him for me. The first time they met, I felt the awkward tension. After that, they either avoided each other or bickered whenever they were in the same room. I never could have imagined that they had such a passionate, dramatic past. Chloe cried and pushed him away. But it's too late now. She's pregnant, and you two are getting married the day after tomorrow. What am I supposed to do? Isaiah's face was filled with pain, but he kept her in his embrace. She will never know. I will make it up to her by treating her twice as well. My heart ached with a suffocating tightness. His love for me hadn't felt like a lie. Ever since we got together, he had surprised me on every holiday. Even when he drank himself to a stomach bleed, he still remembered to take care of me when I was sick. To get my parents' approval, he worked day and night just to build a comfortable life for us. When my family went through a financial crisis, he emptied his entire savings account without a second thought to bail us out. And when an enemy set fire to our house, trapping me inside, he risked his life and rushed through the flames to save me. He had inhaled so much toxic smoke back then, yet he still managed to smile and comfort me. Don't cry, babe. I'm here. He had gently wiped the soot off my face. You look like a little dirty cat. But now, this same man was holding my best friend, telling her he would make it up to me by treating me twice as well. My mind was a chaotic mess. On one side was the image of him holding Chloe, on the other was the memory of how deeply he had loved me. I gently stroked my stomach. For the sake of my baby, this had to end. With trembling hands, I took out my phone and snapped photos of them. I wanted to walk over and confront them, to demand an explanation for my ruined friendship and love. But right then, Isaiah's phone rang. It was my contact calling him. I quickly pressed the call button, watching him answer it from afar. Eliana, some urgent business came up at the office. I might not make it home tonight. Suppressing the tremor in my voice, I asked, I'm scared to be home alone. Can't you do the work tomorrow? His voice softened instantly. Be good, babe. Once this busy week is over, I'll spend all my time with you. How about I call Mom to keep you company? At that moment, Chloe struggled out of his arms and turned to walk away. Seeing her leave, Isaiah got anxious and hurried to wrap up the call. Eliana, things are really crazy here. I have to hang up. I'll call you back later. I watched him hang up and immediately grab Chloe's arm. Don't go. Chloe buried her face in his shoulder, sobbing. I feel so guilty, but I'm so jealous of her. Why does she get to accept your love openly? Why does she get to carry your baby while I can't? Isaiah rubbed her back, whispering comforts. Eliana is your best friend. She loves you. She will understand. Yeah, she was my best friend. She was the girl who stood up for me and fought back when I was bullied in school. But how the hell was I supposed to understand this? Forcing down the agonizing pain in my chest, I sent Chloe a Snapchat. Let's go try on wedding dresses together tomorrow. Since you two love each other so much, I'll let you have each other. All I want is the baby in my womb. Isaiah never called back that night. Instead, Aiden kept me company through FaceTime. Watching him excitedly talk about his life on the other side of the screen, my eyes filled with tears. Aiden. I'm not around anymore in your timeline, am I? His eyes turned red instantly, and he slowly nodded. You committed suicide last year because of severe depression. My heart shattered. Tears rolled down my cheeks, and I wished more than anything I could reach through the screen and hug his fragile body. I'm so sorry, baby. This time, I promise I will stay with you. I will watch you grow up. We will be together forever. The next morning, I saw Chloe's reply, okay. I drove to the bridal boutique early. On the way, an overwhelming sense of dread washed over me. Suddenly, Aiden's FaceTime call came through. His face was pale with terror. Mom. Don't drive. Don't. Before he could finish, a massive truck ran a red light, speeding straight toward me. I spun the steering wheel wildly, but it was too late. The deafening crash echoed in my ears as the airbag slammed into my face. A sharp, agonizing pain shot through my entire body, and I felt something warm and wet draining out of me. With the last ounce of my strength, I looked at the phone screen. Aiden's face was fading. In my fading consciousness, I heard his weak, sobbing voice. Mom. Mom, I'm sorry. I don't think I can have you watch me grow up anymore. When I woke up, the smell of disinfectant filled my nose. I stared at the sterile white ceiling and slowly placed my hand on my flat, empty belly. Tears fell silently. Suddenly, Chloe's hysterical voice drifted in from outside the hospital room door. I did it. I hired that truck. I just wanted her to lose the baby. I'm a monster. Why do you still love me? My brain exploded with a loud buzz. My fingernails dug deep into my palms. Dragging my bruised, aching body out of bed, I leaned against the door. It was her. She had planned the crash. The screaming outside continued. I couldn't stand the thought of you having a child with her. I couldn't stand seeing you treat her better than me. I am that evil. I tried to kill my best friend's baby. Do you still want to be with me now? Chloe was crying hysterically, but Isaiah's angry outburst never came. I expected him to yell, to be furious, to call the police and demand justice for our dead child. But instead, he just pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. It's okay. Don't be scared. I'll handle everything for you. As long as Eliana doesn't find out, we can pretend none of this ever happened, okay? She froze. And so did I. In a daze, I remembered the day I tested positive for pregnancy. He had cheered and spun me around. He was so happy that he ran around our neighborhood, telling every neighbor he passed that he was going to be a father. But now, he was holding Chloe, showing no grief for our lost baby. He was only concerned with soothing the crying murderer in his arms. I coughed, spitting out a mouthful of blood. It was all so sickeningly absurd. I pushed the door open and spoke quietly. I heard everything. The silence in the corridor was so heavy it felt physical. Isaiah froze, his arms still wrapped around Chloe. The warmth of his protective Embrace vanished, replaced by a sudden, rigid terror. He slowly turned his head, his eyes widening as they landed on me. Chloe's crying stopped instantly. She looked over Isaiah's shoulder, her face draining of what little color it had left. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Eliana. Isaiah's voice was barely a whisper, a weak, trembling thread. He let go of Chloe as if she had suddenly turned into hot coal, taking a panicked step toward me. Eliana, it's not what you think. You just woke up. You're confused. The medication. I am not confused, Isaiah, I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. It was hollow, flat, and cold as the tiled floor beneath my bare feet. I heard her. She hired the truck. She wanted to kill my baby. And you promised to cover it up. Every word felt like a glass shard cutting its way up my throat, but I forced them out. I had to. The physical pain in my abdomen was a dull throb compared to the roaring void in my chest. My baby was gone. Aiden, the boy who had called me from a future that would now never exist, was gone. Chloe shrank back against the wall, sliding down until she was crouching on the floor, burying her face in her knees. I'm sorry, Eliana. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I just wanted. You wanted to kill my child, I repeated, staring at her. This was the girl who had shared her lunches with me in middle school. The girl who had held my hair back when I was sick, who had sworn we would be bridesmaids at each other's weddings. Eliana, please, Isaiah pleaded, reaching out to grab my hand. I flinched away from his touch, the disgust rising so fast I thought I might throw up blood again. Don't touch me. It was an accident, Eliana. She's sick, she's not in her right mind. Isaiah's eyes were frantic, darting around the empty hallway, terrified that a nurse or a doctor might walk by. He stepped closer, dropping his voice to a desperate whisper. She didn't mean for it to go this far. If you call the police, her life is over. My life is over. Think about our 7 years together, Eliana. Please. I know you're hurting. I'm hurting too. That was my baby, too. Your baby, too. The sheer hypocrisy of those words nearly made me laugh. He hadn't shed a single tear for the child. His first instinct upon hearing that his mistress had murdered his unborn son was to shield her from the law. I looked at him, really looked at him. The handsome face, the gentle eyes that I had adored for nearly a decade. It was all a lie. He was a monster wearing the skin of the man I loved. And then, a cold, dark clarity settled over me. If I screamed, if I called the police right now, what would happen? Chloe would hire a top-tier lawyer. Isaiah would empty his bank accounts to defend her. The truck driver had likely been paid off through untraceable methods, or he would take the fall alone as a simple reckless driving case. Without hard, undeniable physical evidence linking Chloe to the driver, a confession overheard in a hospital corridor by a heavily medicated, grieving mother would be dismissed as hearsay or trauma-induced hallucination. They would slip through the cracks of the justice system. They would comfort each other, heal from the tragedy, and eventually build a life together on the ashes of mine. And in the future Aiden had warned me about, Isaiah would eventually lock me in an asylum. He was calculating, ruthless, and entirely devoid of a conscience. I couldn't just hurt them. I had to destroy them. Completely. Systematically. I closed my eyes for a long moment, swallowing the bitter taste of my own blood. When I opened them, the raw fury in my eyes had been replaced by a vacant, shattered stare. I let my shoulders slump. I let my knees buckle slightly, pretending to lose my balance. Isaiah immediately caught me. This time, I didn't push him away. I let myself fall against him, heavy and lifeless. Eliana, he gasped, lifting me up. My baby. I whispered, letting tears stream down my face, making my voice sound broken, defeated, and empty. My baby is gone, Isaiah. Everything is gone. I know, sweetheart, I know, he murmured, his voice filled with a sickeningly sweet relief as he realized I wasn't screaming for the police anymore. He carried me back into the hospital room and laid me gently on the bed. Chloe slowly crept into the room behind him, looking like a ghost. I stared at the ceiling, my voice barely audible. I don't care anymore. Nothing matters. The wedding, we can't get married the day after tomorrow. Not like this. Of course not, Isaiah said quickly, tucking the blanket around me. We'll postpone it. We'll take all the time you need. And Chloe. I turned my eyes slowly toward her. She flinched. I don't want to see you. Not for a long time. I don't have the strength to hate you, and I don't have the strength to forgive you. Just, go away. Chloe let out a strangled sob, nodding rapidly. Okay. Okay, Eliana. I'm so sorry. She turned and fled the room. Isaiah sat on the edge of my bed, gently stroking my hair. You're doing the right thing, Eliana. Keeping this quiet, it's best for everyone. If this got out, the scandal would ruin my company, and I wouldn't be able to provide for you. I'll make this up to you. I swear I will. I kept my eyes fixed on the ceiling, wearing the perfect mask of a grieving broken woman. Yes, Isaiah, I thought, my heart hardening into solid ice. Postpone the wedding. Keep your company. Because when I am done with you, you won't have a single penny, a single friend, or a single day of freedom left. I spent 3 days in the hospital. During that time, Isaiah was the picture-perfect, devoted fiancé. He slept on the uncomfortable hospital sofa, brought me my favorite soups, and held my hand when the physical pain became too intense. To anyone else, he was a grieving father-to-be supporting his devastated partner. But every time his fingers brushed my skin, a shiver of pure revulsion ran down my spine. I kept the mask firmly in place, speaking in quiet, submissive tones, pretending to rely on him entirely. On the second night, while Isaiah was asleep on the sofa, his soft snores filling the dim room, I quietly slipped his phone out of his jacket pocket. Because we had been together for 7 years, I knew his passcode. It was my birthday. He hadn't bothered to change it. I stepped into the bathroom, closing the door almost completely to block out the light. My fingers flew across the screen. First, I checked his call history and messages. There were no recent texts from Chloe. They were smart enough to use encrypted apps or burner phones. But I found what I was looking for in his deleted folders. There was a PDF file of a bank transfer receipt dated the afternoon of my accident. A transfer of $100,000 to an offshore account. The sender was one of Isaiah's shell corporations, a small consulting firm he used for tax write-offs. I took photos of the screen using my own phone, which I had hidden under the bathroom sink earlier. Then, I dug deeper. I accessed his business emails. Isaiah had been working day and night, not just to build our future, but to secure a massive partnership with the Jefferson Group, the very firm Chloe had interned for years ago. It was a multi-million-dollar deal that would put his logistics company on the map. The final contract signing was scheduled for 2 weeks from now. I looked at the primary contact for the Jefferson Group. It was a man named Arthur Vance, a senior director known for his strictly conservative values and zero-tolerance policy for unethical business practices. Perfect. When I stepped out of the bathroom, my heart was pounding, but my mind was completely clear. The next day, I was discharged. Isaiah drove me back to our old apartment, not the new house. I had told him the new house held too many painful memories of our planned future. He readily agreed, eager to keep me away from the master bedroom where the used condoms and Chloe's lingerie still lingered, though I was certain he had cleaned them up by now. As soon as Isaiah left for the office the following morning, promising to return early to make dinner, I got to work. I called a private investigator, a man named Marcus whom my father had used years ago during his own business disputes. Marcus, I said when he answered. I need you to look into a traffic accident. I gave him the date, time, and location of my crash, along with the license plate of the truck that had hit me. I need to know everything about the driver, I instructed. His bank accounts. His recent contacts, his family. And I need a connection to this offshore account. I read aloud the account number from the PDF I had photographed. It will cost you, Eliana, Marcus warned. I don't care about the cost. Use whatever resources you need. Just find the link. After hanging up, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my hands. My phone vibrated. My heart skipped a beat. For a wild, desperate second, I hoped it was Aiden. I hoped that somehow, despite the timeline being shattered, his call would find its way back to me. But when I picked up the phone, the screen was blank. No incoming FaceTime. Just a text from an unknown number. The shadow of the past always returns to the place where it began. I stared at the cryptic message. Was it Aiden? Or was it some sick game played by someone else? I tried calling the number back, but a mechanical voice informed me that the number was not in service. I took a deep breath, clutching the phone tightly against my chest. Aiden, if you can hear me, I will make them pay. I promise you. Over the next week, I began my psychological campaign. I didn't confront Chloe, nor did I block her. Instead, I sent her a single message. I found something under the bed in the new house. I know, Chloe. But I don't have the strength to fight you. Please, just leave us alone. It was a masterpiece of manipulation. It confirmed to Chloe that I knew about the affair, but it also made me look entirely defeated, passive, and broken. More importantly, it planted a seed of intense, suffocating guilt and paranoia. In her mind, Chloe was a highly emotional, unstable person. Aiden had said she eventually fell into a deep depression and committed suicide out of guilt. I didn't want her to die. Death was too easy an escape. I wanted her to suffer, to lose her mind, and to face the cold walls of a prison cell. I knew Chloe would immediately run to Isaiah, panicking. And she did. That very evening, Isaiah came home looking incredibly tense. He kept looking at me with a mixture of pity, suspicion, and fear. Eliana, he said gently as we sat down for dinner. Chloe told me you messaged her. She said, you found something at the new house? I paused, my fork hovering over my plate. I let my eyes well up with tears, my bottom lip trembling. I don't want to talk about it, Isaiah, I whispered, looking down. I know about the lingerie. I know you too, before. But I lost my baby. I can't lose you too. Please, tell me it's over. Tell me you'll stay with me. I reached across the table, grabbing his hand with a desperate, pathetic grip. Isaiah's face softened with a wave of intense relief. He believed he had successfully gaslit me into submission. He thought my grief had made me weak and dependent on him. Of course, babe. It's over. It was a mistake, a moment of weakness. I love you. And only you. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Promise me you won't see her again, I sobbed, putting on a performance that deserved an Oscar. I promise, he said solemnly. But I knew he was lying. Marcus had already sent me his first report. Isaiah had visited Chloe's apartment twice in the last 48 hours. Marcus had captured high-resolution photos of them kissing on her balcony, Isaiah comforting a weeping Chloe. I saved the photos to a secure cloud drive. A few days later, I initiated the next phase. I began to hallucinate. It started small. I would wake up in the middle of the night, screaming, claiming I heard a baby crying in the living room. Isaiah would rush out, find nothing, and hold me as I shook violently. I heard him, Isaiah. I heard Aiden. I would cry into his chest. Who is Aiden, Eliana? He asked, confused and slightly unnerved. Our baby, I whispered, staring blankly into the dark bedroom. He told me his name was Aiden. He told me he was coming from the future. He told me someone killed him. Isaiah's body went completely rigid beneath me. I could feel his heart hammering against his ribs. It's just a dream, Eliana. Just a nightmare. You're traumatized. No, I whispered, turning my head to look at him in the dark. My eyes were wide, unblinking. He said the person who killed him is very close to us. He said they are watching us right now. Isaiah swallowed hard, his face pale in the moonlight. Don't talk like that. It's creepy. Go to sleep. The next day, I took it a step further. I waited until Isaiah was at work. I knew Chloe's schedule, she worked from home. On Thursdays, I bought a cheap, untraceable burner phone. I downloaded a voice changer app and set it to a pitch-shifted, childlike voice. I called Chloe. She answered on the second ring. Hello? Mommy. The voice whimpered through the phone. Chloe gasped, her breath catching. Who is this? Is this a joke? Why did you hurt me, Mommy? It was so cold in the water. The truck was so heavy. Stop it. Who is this? Chloe screamed, her voice cracking with terror. I'm coming back for you, Mommy. You and Daddy. I hung up. I knew exactly what Chloe would do. She would immediately call Isaiah, sobbing, claiming she was being haunted or targeted. And Isaiah would have to comfort her, while pretending to me that everything was fine. I wanted them paranoid. I wanted them exhausted. I wanted their secret love affair to become a toxic, terrifying nightmare that choked the life out of them. 2 weeks passed. The day of the Jefferson Group contract signing arrived. This deal was Isaiah's crowning achievement. It was worth $5 million. In its first year alone. If secured, his company's valuation would triple, and he would become one of the city's most prominent young entrepreneurs. He left the apartment in a sharp charcoal suit, looking confident and energized. He kissed my forehead before he left. Wish me luck, babe. Today is the day our lives change forever. Good luck, Isaiah, I said, giving him a sweet, supportive smile. I know. You'll get exactly what you deserve. As soon as the door closed, my smile vanished. I opened my laptop. Marcus had delivered the final pieces of the puzzle last night. He had done an incredible job. He had found the truck driver, a man named Donald Vance, no relation to Arthur Vance, who had suddenly paid off his massive gambling debts the day after my crash. But more importantly, Marcus had found the digital paper trail. Chloe had used a burner email to contact a middleman on the dark web to hire Donald. The middleman had been arrested in an unrelated sting operation 2 days ago, and in exchange for a plea deal, he had handed over his entire chat history, including the IP address used by the client. The IP address belonged to Chloe's home Wi-Fi. And the offshore account that paid the middleman? It was funded directly by a wire transfer from Isaiah's shell company, authorized by Isaiah himself. It was a perfect, airtight conspiracy to commit murder. I compiled everything into a beautifully organized digital dossier: the bank receipts, the dark web chat logs, the IP address matches, the photos of Isaiah and Chloe together after the crash, and the audio recording of their confrontation in the hospital garage, which I had secretly recorded on my phone while hiding behind the concrete pillar. I drafted 3 emails. The first email was addressed to Arthur Vance, the senior director of the Jefferson Group. The second email was addressed to the district attorney's office and the lead investigator of the traffic division. The third email was addressed to every major news outlet in the city. I set the emails on a delay. They would all send at exactly 2 p.m., the exact time Isaiah's signing ceremony was scheduled to begin at the Jefferson Group headquarters. But I wasn't going to just sit at home and wait for the news. I wanted to see it happen. I wanted to look into their eyes when their world crumbled. I dressed in a simple, elegant black dress. I put on a pair of dark sunglasses, grabbed my purse, and drove to the Jefferson Group headquarters downtown. The building was a towering glass monolith. I walked into the grand lobby, my heels clicking sharply against the polished marble. Because I was Isaiah's fiancé and had been invited to the post-signing celebration, the receptionist smiled warmly and gave me a guest pass to the executive boardroom on the 45th floor. When I stepped out of the elevator, the atmosphere was quiet and professional. Through the glass walls of the boardroom, I could see Isaiah sitting at a large mahogany table. He was surrounded by his executives and the board members of the Jefferson Group. Arthur Vance sat at the head of the table, reviewing the final pages of the contract. Isaiah looked up and saw me standing outside. A brief look of surprise crossed his face, followed by a warm, proud smile. He gave me a subtle nod, gesturing for me to wait in the lounge area nearby. I sat down on a leather sofa, pulling out my phone. The clock read 1:58 p.m. My heart hammered against my ribs, a wild, erratic rhythm. For you, Aiden, I whispered in my mind. For the life we should have had. 1:59 p.m. I watched Isaiah stand up, smoothing his suit jacket. Arthur Vance stood up as well, unscrewing the cap of a sleek fountain pen. They stepped toward each other to shake hands before signing. 2 p.m. Suddenly, a chorus of soft chimes and vibrations echoed through the boardroom. Arthur Vance's assistant, who was standing in the corner, looked down at her tablet. Her face went completely pale. She quickly stepped forward, interrupting the handshake, and whispered something in Arthur's ear while showing him the screen. At the same time, several other board members pulled out their phones, their eyes widening as they read. Isaiah's smile faltered. "Is everything all right, Mr. Vance?" Arthur Vance didn't answer. He took the tablet from his assistant, his expression hardening into stone as he scrolled through the email. He looked up, his gaze shifting from the screen straight to Isaiah. The look in Arthur's eyes was one of pure disgust. "Mr. Miller," Arthur said, his voice cold and echoing through the quiet room. "The contract signing is suspended." Isaiah blinked, utterly bewildered. "What? Why? Is there an issue with the terms? We can negotiate." "There is no negotiation," Arthur interrupted, slamming the tablet onto the mahogany table. "Our firm does not do business with criminals. Or murderers." The word murderers cut through the room like a physical blow. Isaiah's executives gasped, murmuring in confusion. Isaiah's face drained of color. I don't understand. What are you talking about?" "Take a look for yourself," Arthur said, gesturing to the tablet. Isaiah slowly stepped forward, his hands trembling as he picked up the device. As his eyes scanned the documents, the photos of him and Chloe, and the bank transfer records, his knees visibly buckled. He had to grip the edge of the table to keep himself from collapsing. This is a fabrication," Isaiah stammered, his voice high-pitched and frantic. "This is a smear campaign. Someone is trying to ruin me." The email came from an encrypted source, but the evidence is incredibly detailed, Mr. Miller, Arthur Vance said coldly. "Furthermore, my assistant has just informed me that the police are already downstairs." Right on cue, the heavy glass doors of the executive suite slid open. 3 uniformed police officers and 2 plainclothes detectives stepped into the lobby. Isaiah looked through the glass walls, his eyes wild with panic. And then, his gaze locked onto me. I was standing up now, holding my sunglasses in my hand. I wasn't hiding. I was looking directly at him, my expression entirely calm, cold, and victorious. Isaiah's eyes widened in realization. He realized that the broken, grieving woman he had been comforting was the one who had pulled the pin on the grenade. "Eliana," he whispered, his lips moving but no sound reaching me through the glass. "Isaiah Miller," the lead detective called out, stepping into the boardroom. "You are under arrest for conspiracy to commit attempted murder, financial fraud, and accessory to vehicular manslaughter." Before Isaiah could even protest, the officers stepped forward, grabbed his arms, and forced them behind his back. The cold click of handcuffs echoed through the prestigious room. His executives looked away in embarrassment. Arthur Vance turned his back to him. As they led Isaiah out of the boardroom in handcuffs, he stared at me, his eyes filled with a desperate, pathetic plea. "Eliana, please. I did it for us. I did it to protect our future." I didn't say a word. I just watched him get dragged away, his prestigious suit rumpled, his dignity completely shattered. But my job wasn't done yet. While Isaiah was being processed at the police station, a separate team of officers was already executing an arrest warrant at Chloe's apartment. I drove there myself, parking down the street to watch. Chloe was dragged out of her building in her pajamas, sobbing hysterically as neighbors watched and took videos on their phones. The story had already hit the local news, prominent businessman and mistress arrested in murder-for-hire plot against pregnant fiancé was the top headline on every media outlet. Chloe's face was covered in tears, her hair wild and tangled. She looked completely broken, a shell of the beautiful, confident woman she used to be. As the police pushed her into the back of a patrol car, she caught sight of my car parked down the street. She screamed my name, but the officer shut the door, cutting off her voice. I sat in my car, watching the flashing red and blue lights fade into the distance. The silence returned. I felt a sudden, overwhelming wave of exhaustion. My hands began to shake on the steering wheel. The adrenaline that had kept me going for the past 2 weeks finally drained away, leaving a hollow, aching void. I had won. They were going to prison. The evidence was irrefutable, they would likely spend the next 15 to 20 years behind bars, their names dragged through the mud, their lives utterly ruined. But my baby was still gone. I rested my forehead against the steering wheel, letting the tears finally fall. I cried for my lost friendship, my wasted 7 years, and the little boy who had called me from a future that would never exist. Suddenly, my phone buzzed in my lap. My breath caught in my throat. I wiped my eyes quickly and picked it up. It was a FaceTime call. The caller ID was a string of strange, shifting symbols and letters, blinking rapidly. With trembling fingers, I swiped to answer. The screen flickered with static for a few seconds. Then, the image cleared. It was Aiden. But he didn't look pale or terrified anymore. He was sitting in a bright, sunlit room filled with toys and books. He looked healthy, his cheeks rosy, wearing a soft blue sweater. He looked at me through the screen, a beautiful, radiant smile on his face. "Mom," he said. His voice was clear, warm, and full of life. Tears spilled over my eyelashes. "Aiden. Oh my God, Aiden. You're still here?" "I'm here, Mom," he nodded, his eyes sparkling. The timeline changed. "Because you didn't marry Dad, and because you found out the truth, the bad future was erased. But, how are you here?" I sobbed, reaching out to touch the screen, wishing I could feel the warmth of his cheek. "I lost the baby, Aiden. The accident, you were never born." Aiden shook his head gently, his smile widening. "I was never born in that timeline, Mom. But the future is wide open now. You are going to heal. You are going to meet someone who truly loves you, someone who will protect you and cherish you." He leaned closer to the camera. "And 10 years from now, I'll still be here. I'll still be your son. Just wait for me, okay?" My heart, which had been frozen in ice for weeks, suddenly felt a warm, golden spark. The crushing weight of my grief lifted, replaced by a quiet, beautiful hope. "I'll wait for you, baby," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. "I promise. I'll wait." "I have to go now, Mom," Aiden said, waving his little hand. "Be happy. You deserve to be happy. I love you, Aiden. I love you too, Mom. See you in the future." The screen flickered one last time, and the call disconnected. I sat in the quiet car, looking out at the city streets. The afternoon sun was breaking through the gray clouds, casting a warm, golden glow over the pavement. I touched my chest, feeling the steady, strong beat of my heart. The nightmare was over. The past was gone, and the future was ours to write. I started the engine and drove away, leaving the shadows behind me.